Well, Nebraska is heading out on the road once again after a loss to Wisconsin. Grace Harmon here with Robin Washut as Nebraska basketball just wrapped up practice here at the Hendricks Training Complex before they take on Rutgers at the Scarlet Knights. Now, Rutgers is coming off a loss to Iowa. However, the Huskers have lost 4 in a row. And now Nebraska is going into enemy territory where Rutgers has sold out their arena for the first time in years. What kind of environment are they going to be facing?
Yeah, it's going to be raucous, but I think it has more to do with what's going to happen on the court than it is to do with who's in the stands. Now, it's a tough place to play just because it's the furthest, geographical road trip that Nebraska has to take, so there's that. And it's just a weird gym. It's kind of old school. They call it the RAC, the Rutgers Athletic Center. And it's one of the few gyms that you'll notice watching on TV, fans will stand up and block the camera view. So if there's a pivotal play on one end of the floor, a guy will be standing there celebrating. So anyway, getting sidetracked. But anyway, as far as what Nebraska has to do as a team, it's all about physicality. You watch the interviews from Kevin Cross and Fred Hoiberg, and those that reoccurring theme over and over with every single question was, we have to be able to match Rutgers' physicality and their toughness. That is what Steve Peichel has made this program as one of the toughest teams in the Big Ten Conference. They're not the most dynamic, they don't have any leading scorers or anything like that, but they bring the fight to you every single time you take the floor with them. And they are tough, they're big, they're strong, and they attack. And you look back what happened when Rutgers came to Lincoln a few weeks ago. That game was a pure definition of what Rutgers does. They scored 52 points in the paint. I think Nebraska only had 24. They out-rebounded them by 17. They had a 12-0 advantage in second chance points. And all the things that, you talk about toughness and what Big Ten basketball is all about, Rutgers gave Nebraska a thorough dose of that in a lot of different ways. And if Nebraska doesn't have any chance, let alone against Rutgers on a home or on a neutral floor, but especially on the road, they got to bring the fight, and they got to be ready to get out to a hot start, knock down some shots, and then for a full 40 minutes compete with Rutgers in the paint and under the boards. And if they can do that, they'll have a chance, but much easier said than done.
Now, one thing Fred Hoiberg did say today was that Nebraska is taking care of the ball very well. He says for the pace of game, they're one of the teams that turns the ball over the least. However, against Indiana, they struggled. They had, I believe he said, 5 turnovers, and it just was rough. What are they going to have to do to eliminate those and get back to where they were?
Yeah, I think the stat was of teams that are ranked in the top 25 in adjusted tempo, which is basically points per possession. That Nebraska ranks number 2 in turnover rate, and Gonzaga is the only other team ahead of them. So they're one of the best in all of college basketball in terms of playing with pace and taking care of the basketball. So that's a good thing. That's going well. And then you go back to their last trip to Wisconsin. They actually won the paint in that game. Now, Wisconsin hit the most three-pointers they've ever hit in program history. But on the other end of it, Nebraska scored 20 more points in the paint, and the rebounding discrepancy wasn't bad at all. So that formula worked, and that's what they're going to have to try to carry over this time around. Obviously taking care of the basketball is big, especially with the way Rutgers, how physical they are. They use a full court press, and they get up on those guards and really make you have to work just to get the ball up the floor. But when it comes down to operating the offense, Nebraska did a great job of attacking the rim. They actually made 60-some% of their layups, which doesn't seem like a lot, but this is a team that can barely make 50% on a given night. And so they took a step in the right direction of finishing at the rim, but more so they were more efficient with how they took the ball to the rim. They weren't just wild with their attacks, throwing the ball up, getting their shot blocked. They picked their spots better. They made good decisions. And Deshaun Burke's a perfect example. He had 20 points, and all 20 of those points came at the rim on dunks and layups. That's got to be the mindset. You can't just sit there and go on the road in a true road environment, in a sold-out arena with a red-hot Rutgers team and expect to just beat them with three-pointers. You got to be able to be the aggressor and attack the paint and finish once you get there. And if Nebraska can do that, like I said, again, easier said than done, but that's got to be the formula for them to win.
All right, we'll see how Nebraska handles Rutgers on Saturday at 1 p.m. as the Huskers take on the Scarlet Knights in the RAC. Well, for Robin Washut, I'm Grace Harmon reporting for HuskerOnline.com.